there guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well and welcome to episode number 2 of my Hardcore Arc series on the Center. The objective of this series is to beat the alpha boss while playing on hardcore mode and also playing solo. If you'd like full details on the settings of this challenge, feel free to watch the first video which will be linked in the description. To give you a brief overview of how we're doing so far, in episode 1 we managed to find ourselves a base location and get quite a few tames that are not only going to allow us to farm, but also start to collect the artifacts and tributes. In this episode we are going to do a little bit more taming, but we're also going to be starting to collect those artifacts and tributes needed for the boss fight, as well as preparing our dino army. Also, if you're looking to watch back the full live streams of this challenge, you can do so using the playlist in the description. Finally, before we get stuck into the action, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy this content, show your support also with a comment, letting me know what other maps you'd like to see me do this challenge on. So without any further ado, let's see how I went about approaching this challenge on day number 2. As day 2 began, I started to think about what I would actually need to go and grab all of these artifacts and of course the tributes. Not only that, but I had to seriously consider getting my dinos ready for this fight. If I didn't prepare now, then it would take ages for me to prepare once I had everything else ready. Because of this, I decided to go tame an opposite gender Rex, so I went and found myself another Rex over on the lava island. This time it was a female, same level 140. Oh, female Rex, that's what I want, a 140. It's kind of an okay spot for it to be in. Might be better for it to be down here, unless I can get it stuck, but obviously they did the update where Rexes are actually really good. I could probably lead it into a trap. Little Squid, mate. There you go, didn't need the trap. Okay, gonna have to watch out a little bit for little sneaky Rexes and stuff sneaking up on me, so I'm gonna sit up here and do this. With female now tamed, I headed back to base and made some air cons so I could start breeding them. While I waited for my first Rex eggs to hatch, I went and took the Yankee on the first real metal run, getting a good solid amount of resources for me to smelt, so I had plenty of metal for crafting whatever I needed. I knew I was going to have to venture into the deep sea at some point during this playthrough, so I tamed myself an Itchy. They're not great for killing anything down the deep sea, but they are very fast and good for scouting. This would allow me to go and get the artifact of the Brute, which is down in the water, and would allow me to start scouting for Tusos to tame to eventually get those Tuso tentacles. I then decided to tame a carbon enemy to make it a little bit easier for me to actually tame a Tuso. I do have things on 10 times rate, so Tuso is going to tame almost instantly, however it is a little bit easier if you've got a nice tanky turtle to feed to it. Next up on the things I'd need to tame a Tuso was of course black pearls. Now even if you have boosted rates like I do, you're going to need at least 50 of these to tame a Tuso. Now the center isn't really an ideal map for finding black pearls, however you will get a few from trilobites, and considering it's time 10's rates, I thought if I just kill a few trilobites I should be able to get my black pearls. One of the first trilobites I found was actually right next to an alpha raptor that I thought I might try and kill to get a little bit of XP and so I could get my hands on the trilobite nearby. What level is it? I might just kill it if it's low. 50. Is it worth messing with this thing on hardcore? Probably fall into the water and just get absolutely demolished. This turned out to be a really bad idea. Although the melee on my Pteranodon was good, after a while I started to think, what am I doing here? Risking a death on this Alpha Raptor I absolutely don't need to, and I went and continued my search for trilobites. It's going to be like the end of the stream by the time I kill this thing. I'm doing 236, so I thought I'd kill it pretty quick. Like, these things only have, what, 5k health? Alpha Raptor mid-level? Max. Now I was really struggling to find enough trilobites to get all these black pearls that I needed. Even on 10 times and using the chainsaw on them, honestly it really kind of dragged and did kind of chip away into my time here trying to beat the boss as soon as possible. I circled and circled and circled the coast, but I was so close to getting 50 but couldn't find a single trilobite. Oh my god, 46. Well, that sucks. So I actually decided to go back to base, get myself some long neck ammo and kill that Alpha Raptor that was by the final one. Don't be a little scrib Alpha Raptor and just hang out under there so I can't see ya. It should flee once it can't hit me. It should just flee. Come on, flee. Yeah boy, we did it. Right, got rid of that. My trilobites over here. We need, yes, 6. There we go. We got it, boys. Mission accomplished. Once that was in the bag, we had enough black pearls to tame ourselves a Tuso, so we headed back to base and started to prep. Now the carbon enemy was going to need some health in it, so I leveled it up, but it's going to take quite a while to heal as I currently didn't have a Daedon or anything to help it heal. Because of this, I came to terms with the fact that I am going to have to go to the Redwood, of course, to get those Thylaco claws. Should we, while that heals, should we go tame our Thyla? Because we are going to need a Thyla, aren't we? Honestly, in a hardcore playthrough, the Redwood is a very intimidating place. You can very, very easily get killed before you even know what's happening. However, I knew it had to be done. I knew I had to get those Thyla claws anyway, so I decided to go over there with a trap to actually tame a Thyla and maybe even get a few claws while I'm over there. I did get quite lucky here with my tame finding abilities. I managed to find a 135 Thyla straight away that was actually on the ground as well, so no chance of it knocking off my flyer. I made a basic trap and knocked it out, all while being very aware of my surroundings. Some little Trudons, some Microraptors could come and rush at me at any moment. I even had a Carno try and kill my Trike. I threw the Trike out because I thought, why not have a meat shield just to detract from anything that might try and kill me. It turned out to be a decent little strategy. Not only did a Carno, but a bunch of Terror Birds also came and attacked it while I was trying to knock out the Thyla. Once the Thyla was tamed, I thought, well, I'm in the Redwoods already, I might as well take this opportunity to try and kill Thylacos. If I could get this out of the way right now, I'd never have to return the Redwoods, and the less time that you're in the Redwoods, the higher the chance that you're not going to take a death. So I started looking for Thylas on my RG. It would be way easier if I had Crystal Isles attached and I could use a Wyvern, because quite often you're going too fast to actually get knocked off of your Thyla. However, an RG was all I had, and it didn't even have that much health. I wrestled with a few Thylas just down the river from where I was, and this made me realise how tough this might actually be. These things are very aggressive and they can run around in multiple packs. There was a couple of instances where I actually got knocked off my Argent, and this again, it was one of the very close calls for death. Now if you don't know, when you get hit by a Thyla, you can get out of its grip by grappling. If you've got primitive gear and not the best weapons, I highly suggest you try and do it this way. At one point I decided to use my sword to try and kill a Thyla, and it was taking absolutely ages. I wouldn't recommend you do that. This is a bit of a silly decision by me. It got my flak down to half Dura and my health down to half health as well. Not really a position you want to be in the Redwoods. After that early scare, I decided to take a more cautious approach when it came to killing the Thylas. My strategy was spot them from a distance, knock them down off of the tree by shooting them with a crossbow arrow, and then let them come to me and get an easy kill with the Argent. It took quite a while and it was a little bit scary, but eventually we got the 25 Thylaco claws that we needed and headed back to base. Kitty cat, give me those claws. Oh yeah, we got a kitty cat. We got them claws. 26 Thyla claws, everybody. Can we get a round of applause? Can we get a round of applause for me? We're getting 26 Thyla claws. By the time I got back to base, one of my Rexes had actually hatched an egg and I managed to claim it, and we had another egg ready to hatch. Now it was time to take on one of the more intimidating tasks, and that is taming yourselves a Tuso. I'm not really an experienced tamer when it comes to deep sea creatures. I've done it a long time ago, and I think the only time that I've tamed a Tuso was on a times 1000 server, so it might have been a different story here. So I travelled on my Itchy to the deep sea, scuba on me and med brews in hand, looking for myself a higher level Tuso. While I was down here, my live stream chat reminded me that there was actually an artifact in this area. It took a little while to find it, but eventually we got there and claimed it as our first artifact that was going to help us for our artifact collection needed for the boss fight. After what felt like a quite lengthy swim around the deep sea, we did eventually find a Tuso, and a level 145 at that. An absolutely perfect Tuso to tame. Here again is where I nearly took a death. It was my own negligence. I really should have researched it a bit more. I hadn't tamed a Tuso in a long time, as I just told you. Now, I knew that I could feed the Carbonemi to it. However, it started coming at me while I was throwing the Carbonemi out and grabbed my dolphin. That was a bit of a shame, because if I didn't tame this Tuso right here at this time, this meant that I had no way of getting back to the surface easily. I could have actually taken a death just by not being able to tame this Tuso. Luckily, it grabbed the carbon enemy, but I panicked when it grabbed it. I was trying to feed it from the back, trying to be extra cautious. I didn't know that you had to feed it right into its eye and was hoping I could feed it around the back. I just wanted to stay away from those tentacles. I didn't want to get hit by them. This is a hardcore playthrough and a death here would mean a total reset. To be honest with you, I really thought this could be the end, or at least a reset for the playthrough. However, my chat reminded me to feed the Tuso from the front. I managed to do that, get the saddle on it, and it was no problem. We had ourselves a lovely high level Tuso. Alright, woo! Well, just as well I knew what I was doing, right guys? Woo! Once I had the Tuso, we went and grabbed ourselves a few tentacles from the couple of squids that had spawned that we could grab, and I decided to take on this level 20 Alpha Mosa. I thought my tanky squid would be able to take it on no problem whatsoever. However, while fighting with it, it got my Tuso down to 6k health out of 18,000. And obviously once you start the fight, you kind of have to finish it. So this was a little bit sketchy. I'd realised I'd made a bit of a mistake here. So I used this opportunity to go and level up my Tuso and then took it back to base. I'd spent so much time in the deep sea at this point that I decided to log off for the day. We're in hour 11 at this point, still pretty early on in the playthrough, starting to make some good progress, but this was enough for today for my stream, so I stopped the stream there and then logged off for the day. When I logged on for day 3, one of the first things that I wanted to get was a Daedon. Having to wait for so long for my carbon enemy to heal, and now having this giant squid that needed heals as well, I definitely wanted to get a Daedon as soon as possible. I was also going to need it to heal my Rexes for when I level them ready for the boss fight. Luckily, Daedons are absolutely plentiful on the centre. The only real problem is that the area that they're in, there's a lot of Utyrannus, and Utyrannus can scare your RG and make it fly all over the place. However, I picked up a level 130 Daedon and brought it back to a trap right next to my base. Once tamed, I cryoed up my Daedon to get some levels into it and started to work on getting myself an industrial cooker. I was just about to head into the more dangerous caves where the temperatures are extreme and there's a lot of dangerous creatures in there, so I knew that having a big thick stack of med brews would really help my chances of survival. At this time I also used the Daedon to heal up my Thyla because I was going to be taking the Thyla into these caves. I wanted as much health as possible. You don't really level melee into Thylas, it doesn't affect it too much because the bleed damage is really what does most of the work. I also decided to make myself a pump action shotgun at this stage. Prior to this, I hadn't been going around with any weapons, but if I was going to be travelling into the dangerous caves, and let's say for instance I got knocked off my tame or it died, I need to have some kind of weapon to get me out of tricky situations, and there's nothing much better against PvE than a pump action shotgun. With my med brews on my hotbar and my Thyla ready to rock, I headed over to the lava cave to get the artifacts that were in there. Now, although there was a hell of a lot of creatures in this cave, it really wasn't too difficult. The Thyla had pretty good damage on it, and I was able to jump past a lot of the aggro stuff. We ran all the way to the end of the cave and grabbed ourselves the artifact of the massive, no problem. I then came back down to the entrance and went down the different ramp and got the second artifact in there, which is the artifact of the strong. After this, I headed into the Pearl Cave as I also needed an artifact in there. At first I actually went to the wrong end of the cave unnecessarily. That's just an oversight on my part, I wasn't sure which side to go. But in the end, we went to the correct side and collected the artifact of the hunter. Now on the way back from the cave, I found myself a red drop and it actually had a much better pump action shotgun than what I had on me. This was a real stroke of luck and this was going to be very, very useful for the rest of my playthrough. So with 3 more artifacts in the bag for a total of 4, I was feeling much more confident at this stage. However, my confidence was about to take a blow as we needed to head to the North Snow Cave. The North Snow Cave is an extremely dangerous cave to explore if you've got primitive gear and you're playing solo. It has loads of extremely high level dangerous creatures in there, as well as being freezing cold, and you have to go through a pretty large body of water to get to either side. Now I must admit I'm not too knowledgeable about the North Snow Cave on the centre and normally try and avoid it, and I very rarely base in there. I didn't even realise that once you drop down into the water there was 2 different ways to go to get the 2 different artefacts. I kind of played it safe, I dropped straight into the water from the top and then I threw up my Tuso and allowed its giant tentacles to clear out all the super high level dangerous creatures that were in the entrance. While I was in here, my health was dropping quick and my med brews came in absolutely clutch. If I'd failed to prepare here by not making enough med brews, I absolutely would have taken a death. I followed the water tunnel round and managed to grab myself the artifact of the Devourer. At this point, I was a little bit silly and didn't realise there was 2 artifacts in this cave that I needed to get. I was about to head out of the cave before my live stream chat reminded me about the other one. So I went back down and took the other route, which is if you go down and left when you drop down from the water, and managed to grab myself the second artifact. This artifact was the artifact of the clever, and I came into a bit of an issue here. Luckily being prepared saved me, but to get to this artifact you need to drop down in one of these sections, and there's no way of getting back up without grapples. I tried to get up with my Thyla at first. I tried to throw out the Pteranodon, see if I could fly up there, but neither of those were working, so it was very fortunate that I had prepared a lot of grapples on me and some parachutes, because if I hadn't have done that, I would have been stuck in this cave, and again, it would have been the end of the run. So the main things you always want to have on you in a hardcore run is of course food, water, stimulant, but also med brews, grapples and parachutes. Never ever go out without them. By the time I headed back, my Rexes, well, they were mating like rabbits. We were getting loads of fresh Rexes, so I had to make some fresh cryopods to control my ever-expanding dino army. Things were really starting to come together now, as I'd grabbed some of the more difficult to get artifacts, and the next one was probably going to be one of the most difficult, as I was just completely unsure as how I was going to do this, as I hadn't got this artifact myself in a long time.
Underworld?
So this artifact was the one by the jump puzzle in the Underworld. This can be extremely difficult. You can't use grapples here to grapple up, and you can use the Thyla, but your Thyla will take damage and potentially die while trying to get it. The other options is to jump around on the little stones, I guess, on the outside, but this can be very tricky, and I wasn't experienced at this. I didn't want to risk this if I didn't have to, as obviously falling off would have almost ultimately meant a death, especially considering I couldn't use my grapples and only parachutes. So the safest way for me was going to be to use my Thyla, so I healed it up as much as I could and decided to go for it. This wasn't going to be super simple because the wall I needed to climb wasn't completely straight, so it meant that I might not be able to climb it easily and potentially could lose my Thyla here. Come on, baby. Just grab there. Come on. Really? Really? Where is it? So after a super close call there, I did actually manage to get up there, and I managed to do it with my Thyla in tow. That was a super clutch moment where I didn't nearly die, but I nearly lost my Thyla, which would have been gutting, and if I hadn't have managed to get it there and lost my Thyla, it would have been very tricky for me to get that artifact. However, we did it, and the artifact of the pack was now obtained. Next up was a long, what seemed to be never-ending search for Tusoteuthis. Only a certain amount will spawn on the map at any one time, so it's going to take a long time to get these no matter what you do. On this long and treacherous search for Tusos, we nearly died twice, and not to any dangers in the water, but to the sudden temperature drops, which I almost didn't notice. Twice while down here in the deep sea, I nearly died just from losing health from temperature. Very fortunate I had enough med brews on me to keep healing myself. After a long and tedious search, we did eventually manage to get all of the Tusoteuthis needed. This took well over an hour, and by this time I was completely drained. So after all of this stress from this day, nearly dying multiple times, going to the most difficult caves and getting the most difficult artifacts on the map, this was about time to log off for another day. As I started the next day, I decided to level and heal up my Rexes. I almost had enough right now to do the boss, and I almost had all of the artifacts and most of the tributes. I leveled them all up, saddled them all, and then healed them using the Daedon. Next up, I need to get another tribute that sometimes can be tricky to get, and that's Megalania Toxin. A viewer in the chat suggested going to the Redwood cave, however I knew that there'd be loads of them in the jungle cave in the middle of the map. However, to my disappointment, as I approached this cave and managed to kill all the things inside, I only managed to collect 2 Megalania Toxin. I was really surprised by this, as I always thought there was loads of Megalanias down the bottom section of this cave, however we barely found any. Now, a smart viewer of mine in the chat recommended taking a rare flower as they might be hidden in the walls. So I grabbed myself some rare flowers from a nearby beaver dam and headed back down to the area where they normally spawn. And as you're about to see, there was Megalanias everywhere. Right, this is the bit where they're normally walking about. So I'm just going to like take one. I'm going to take 2. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was the spot. That was the spot. Oh, what the hell? Broke my ghillie gauntlets. Jeez, grim. Oh my god, look at them all. They were here. I knew they'd be here. This was the spot, lads. This was the spot. Jeez. Jeez. So with all the Megalania Toxin grabbed, I also grabbed all of the Titan Boa Venom that I needed and headed back to base to see what was next. I decided I wanted to tame a Tyrannus. This would be very useful in the boss fight for its courage roar, and I went over to the North Snow and generally in the north area of the map to find one where there was absolutely loads of them walking around. This was a little bit tricky to do. You've got to remember I'm on an Argentavis and any Ute roar could send my Argent off in who knows what direction. It could be out of stam, it could be feared, it could run into a group of wolves, so I had to be a little bit cautious while doing this. In this area there's also loads of Argentavis, so I got all of the Argentavis talons needed while on my search for a Tyrannus. Now this search massively sunk into my time here. We spent nearly an hour looking for a Tyrannus. Even though this is the center, which is renowned for its high level dinos, we couldn't find a single one over level 100, and we searched through the whole north side of the map. We did actually find a level 135, but as I was putting the trap down, it got killed. That was super unfortunate and I had to make myself another trap. Oh, it's nearly dead. What's it nearly dead from? Oh my god. We might not be able to get that. It needs to eat some things, man. Jesus. It died. What the hell? What did it even die to? I've got to remake this. It's too late to pick it back up. We eventually settled on a level 95 that was somewhat near the base. Managed to get it in the trap and tamed, no problem. At this point, we're getting really close to having everything we need. We've got all of the artifacts and we just need the tributes at this point. And we've already got the most difficult ones, those Tusoteuthis. Next up, we needed Spino sails. Although there's actually quite a lot of Spinos in the Jungle North area, it is quite a large area and there's not that many of them. We got a few by roaming that area, but I decided to go over to the Lava Island where there's always 3 Spinos at all times. If you're looking to do this yourself, kill the Spinos at each of the lakes on the Lava Island. They're the little lakes with the pearls in. And when you kill them, make sure that you kill the piranhas in the water as well, as they can sometimes count towards the spawn of the Spinos. It took a little bit of a while, but eventually managed to keep on rotating out all the Spinos and gathered all 25 Spino sails ready for the boss. At this point, I realised I'd have made a mistake on my little spreadsheet that had everything that I'd need for the boss. I didn't put that I would need Sarco skins in my spreadsheet and had completely forgotten about it. Luckily, someone in my live stream chat, and this is one of the reasons it's so good to live stream playing this, said that I am going to need those Sarco skins. So we headed over to the swamp with one of our best Rexes, which luckily wasn't too far from the base, and started killing Sarcos. You'd think this was a simple process, but there was actually a really low amount of Sarco spawns in the swamp. We went around the whole swamp twice and it took us over an hour just to get Sarco skins. By this time, I've been live streaming for 5 hours, so once I collected those Sarco skins, I was ready to head off for the day and then log on for the final day the next day, which would be the day we would take on the boss. Sarco, where art thou? I literally need 1 Sarco. Why can't they spawn on that island next to me? That would be so easy. Is that one over there? Guys. It's a Saki. Right in the Demo Swarm. I don't care, man. I've got it. I am out of here. So I log on for the next day, pretty excited about the day's activities. All we now needed was 10 sauropod vertebrae, and Brontos and Diplos are all over the jungle area. As you can imagine, it didn't take me long to go around the jungle area and collect the final sauropod vertebrae. So this was now it. We had all the artifacts and the boss tributes ready to trigger the alpha boss fight. It was now about just preparing with some extra ammunition, some guns, just everything to be on the safe side to make sure that I actually completed this boss. I definitely wanted to over prepare here, and I did that by preparing long necks and shotguns and taking the Procop and taking the UE into the boss fight. So finally, the time was upon us. I had to take an RG because so much of the stuff weighed quite a lot, especially some of the boss tributes. And on single player, you can't trigger a boss at a drop, so I had to go to one of the obelisks. I decided to go to blue obelisk because green obelisk could get really cold, and red obelisk is obviously on the lava island, can also be very dangerous. So this was it, make or break. Everything we've been preparing for is about to go down, and I'll let the live gameplay take over from here. Hard boss. Let's go. Oh god, this one ain't in. This ain't in. Alright. I hope that's in. What about my Procop? I think my Procop's in the middle. If my Procop don't make it in, it ain't the end of the world, to be fair. What even is the Procop? Oh, it's there. Let's pray it gets in. We've got 5 seconds. Imagine I didn't get in. How funny would that be? So if I J-whistle, only a certain amount of them will follow me. Luckily, it's all the ones at the front. Start walking them over this way a bit. This is the one thing I didn't think about, the 2 whistle groups. Oh, that's all of them following me. What the hell? They're not in 2 whistle groups. Oh, they're not on 2 whistle groups. Oh well, it's fine. Don't get me stuck here. Serious? You serious? Jesus Christ. I don't think I'm going to have the time to worry about the Procop. Jesus, they're like out of whistle distance. It's madness. Oh no. I think the monkey's coming, which is good. I think we aggroed just the monkey. We did. I'm trying to whistle. There we go. I'm doing the wrong one. The Procop's in there. We're just going to forget about the Procop thing. Just forget about the Procop. It's too much of a mess in there. We got this easy, boys. We got this easy. We got this easy, boys. Easy. Right, let's get the other one. Can I shoot off the back of this? This is gonna be easy, boys. Rip Harambe. Oh no, come back here. Like, this one Rex is doing it on its own. Oh Oh, we'll let that one die. I guess they can all go in. Yeah, look, let's let that one Rex do it. That one Rex versus the Alpha Brood. Let's go. I don't have tech grams because I auto-unlocked them because I was having like problems with the engrams. All right, just go in, boys. They could have done this with like one Rex. What's this one doing? Look at these two. Oh, it's too easy, boys. We over-prepped. Not a single death. We over-prepped, boys. But it is single player. At least we learned now. At least we know. At least we know. Oosh. Yeah, we don't get the engrams. I did auto-engram unlock because I used the mod to unlock the engrams and it was broken. But hey, that's it. We did it, guys. Let's not underestimate the achievement here. Okay, so the boss was quick to kill, but we did all of this on our own without dying. We got all of the attributes: Tusos, Thylers, Megalanias, Brontos, Spinos, Argents, Bacillos. Like, there was a grind here. However, yes, the boss was overly easy and we could have done much easier, but it's mainly because it's single player settings. I didn't really take that into account when making this challenge. I might take that into account for the next time I do this challenge, maybe even on other maps. That the boss is probably going to be quite easy, but it's hardcore. You can't just presume it's going to be easy on hardcore. I don't want to reset all over again. But we did it, guys. We've blooming gone and done it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That was the highlights of my hardcore alpha boss challenge on the center. If you want to watch back the unedited versions of the streams, that is a full 24 hours of gameplay, check out the members only section linked in the video description. If you have got this far into the video and you haven't done so already, please take a second to like the video. Really appreciate that support, and also subscribe if you're not subscribed already. That's everything for now though, guys. I will see you next time.